10 former McDonald's workers in Virginia have filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the fast food superchain, alleging racial discrimination, sexual harassment, and wrongful termination. The reason? According to former employees who are all Hispanic or black, supervisors talked about the, quote, need to get the ghetto out the store and get rid of those N-words and Mexicans. One supervisor allegedly routinely touched female workers inappropriately and offered better working conditions in exchange for sexual favors. According to the complaint, 9 of the employees were fired last May because the stores had, quote, too many black people and they didn't fit the profile of the organization. In a statement to MSNBC this afternoon, McDonald's said, "We are carefully reviewing the lawsuit and the allegations, and we caution against a rush to judgment." McDonald's has a longstanding history of embracing the diversity of employees, independent franchisees, customers, and suppliers, and discrimination is completely inconsistent with our values. The allegations of abuse come after a year of national and sometimes international protest against the wages McDonald's provides its employees. And they come just weeks after McDonald's launched an unusual ad campaign seeking to repair their brand by invoking national tragedies like the Boston Marathon bombing and the attacks on September 11th. As the Washington Post wrote, the overarching message in the ad gives the impression that McDonald's is some kind of exemplary model of corporate kindness, which is great and all, except for the fact that many people associate McDonald's with just the opposite. Joining me now is senior attorney for the National Employment Law Project, Tsedeye Gebreselassie, and I apologize in advance today for butchering your name, and senior fellow at Demos, Rich Benjamin. And Rich, I want to start with you and ask you, what's the disconnect here between McDonald's brand and its actions as a company?
It's a huge disconnect, Dorian. I think those golden arches are rusting. McDonald's likes to fake the funk as though they're this family-friendly, wonderful Americana brand, when in fact they're being sued for racial discrimination, the sexual harassment, and as if to top that Sunday, they'd already been sued for wage theft. So it's a huge disconnect.
Okay, Tsedeye, as the lawyer here, one of the plaintiffs in the case said that McDonald's closely monitors everything we do, from the speed of the drive-through line to the way we smile and fold customers' bags. But when we try to tell the company we're facing discrimination, they ignore us and say, oh, it's not their problem. So tell us, how exactly has McDonald's been able to avoid legal responsibility for its workers?
I mean, the fact of the matter is it is and should be their problem. But what McDonald's has been able to do oftentimes is say, look, it's not on us. These are independent franchise stores that, but the truth of the matter is they are so closely controlling the operations of these small stores and, reaping the profit that the franchisees are giving back to them. They can't, on the one hand, say, it's not our responsibility, any of these violations that are taking place, and then on the other hand, really control everything that's happening in the store.
So they are the real boss?
Yeah, absolutely.
Conceivably. So, Rich, I want to broaden this out for a minute beyond McDonald's, because on Tuesday, a federal judge ruled that TGI Fridays failed to pay 42,000 workers at least the minimum wage and overtime for extra work. And so the question here is this an anomaly? Is McDonald's an anomaly, or is this something that's rampant in the fast food industry, these kind of employment practices?
Unfortunately, it is rampant. We see it all across the fast food industry, and we see that folks can't support a family on the minimum wage that the fast food industry is operating on. And, they have huge lobbyists in terms of the Restaurant Association. And so McDonald's, unfortunately, is not an outlier.
Tsedeye, what does this mean for the national fight for higher fast food wages?
I think it means, look, in the last 2 years, we saw the strikes that you talked about, both nationally and internationally. You've seen multiple lawsuits filed against McDonald's corporate for wage theft, for retaliating against workers who are trying to organize, and now these really horrific allegations of discrimination and sexual harassment. I think what it means for McDonald's is, really the best thing that they could do to repair their brand, which, as you pointed in the beginning, is what they're focused on doing, is raise wages for workers, really address what is happening in their 15,000 stores across the United States and Canada. And, actually be responsive to what is happening and what millions of fast food workers are telling them are real problems in their stores.
So I want to ask you something specifically about the lawsuit that caught my attention, and that was many of these workers actually called corporate. They called the parent company to ask for help, and they got no response.
Allegedly never responded. I mean, this is the part of the thing. McDonald's says that they're not responsible, yet they're telling their workers, look, call us, go up the chain of command if there's a problem. The workers called, they never responded, allegedly. That's a huge problem.
Rich, this is interesting to me as an allegation of the racial discrimination allegation part, because if I'm not mistaken, McDonald's has one of the largest organizations of black franchisees. Talk to us about the racial dynamics here in terms of McDonald's as a brand, and on the one hand actually having and supporting black owners of its franchisees, while also these practices of racial discrimination seem to be somewhat systematic across its stores.
Well, Dorian, to me, these racial dynamics strike me as hypocrisy. They certainly value diversity in terms of their customers. Now, whether they...
And in the commercials we see.
In the commercials.
A lot of black people in the commercials.
Right, I'm loving it, I'm loving it. They try to make their commercials more hip-hop, more urban. They value diversity in terms of their customers, but their practices apparently not. And so there's this huge disconnect depending on which franchise you're talking about. So you can't have it both ways. You can't try and make a broader urban market and sort of swoop down on urban communities and then have these racial lawsuits on the other hand.
Thank you very much to Tsedeye Gebreselassie.
Yes.
I'm getting closer here.
Yes.
The National Employment Law Project is senior attorney there, and senior fellow at Demos, Rich Benjamin. Thanks to both of you. Coming up, the first